Hello Prob Stat students, this video is just in case Blackboard Collaborate is not working well on the morning of class, and we're going to go over week 2 probability review. We did probability last week as well, and we're going to introduce the final project, which will be the way we're going to assess your fourth quarter to determine whether or not you're going to get that grade bump. All right, we will be talking about basic, compound, and conditional probabilities using Venn diagrams, which is exactly what you're going to do on your final project, and then we'll talk about the final project. All right, so let's look at the Venn diagram. You will need to be able to draw a Venn diagram in Google Slides, so that's exactly what we're going to do now. Of the 28 students, 5 owned just cats, 8 owned just dogs, and 3 owned cats and dogs. So we're going to start with a rectangle. And I don't like the color in there, so I'm going to change the fill color to white. And then I'm going to put in a circle. And I'll copy that circle to make another one. Now for the second circle, you want to be able to see the overlap, so we're going to change the fill for that one to be transparent. So now you can see everything. So we can use a C for cat and a D for dog, and I'm going to put in text boxes. C for cat and D for dog. And sometimes we've had to figure out some complicated numbers in here, but this one's telling us that 5 own just cats. So we know that if it's just a cat, it's 5, and it tells us 8 are just dogs. So that goes over here. And 3 students own cats and dogs, so that goes in here. So there are 28 students altogether. So far we've accounted for 16 students. So if you subtract 28 minus 16, you should find that 12 students have neither cats nor dogs. All right, so our Venn diagram's ready, and now we're going to use this Venn diagram to answer some questions on the next page. Okay, so for A, it says, what is P of D? That means what is the probability that a student owns a dog? So if we look inside the dog circle, there are 11 students who own a dog altogether. So that will be your numerator. Out of 28 students altogether. All right, see if you can do the next one. You can even pause the video to try it on your own. This is the probability of D union C. So what is the probability that a student owns a dog or a cat or both? So if you add these all up, we get 16 students have a dog or a cat or both out of 28 students altogether. And that fraction can simplify. If we divide the numerator and denominator by 4, we get 4/7. C says, what is the probability of the intersection of D and C? So this means the probability that a student owns both a dog and a cat. So the number of students who own a dog and a cat is 3 out of 28 students altogether. And then the last one says, what is the probability of D given C? So if you think you might know how to do that, you can pause it and try it before I explain it. So when we're doing the probability that a student owns a dog, given that they own a cat, we are only considering the students who own cats. We already know that they own cats. So your denominator is not the 28 students. Your denominator is the 8 students who own cats. Now, of those 8 students, how many of those own a dog? So we're not worried about this one over here because that's not inside the cat circle. Of the 8 students who own a cat, how many own a dog? And that's 3. All right, now this was intended to be a group work problem, but because if you're seeing this video, Blackboard was probably not working, you would not have a group for this, so you should pause the video here and try these problems just to make sure you got it. All right, so hopefully you have already tried these problems. So we're looking at the Venn diagram over here, and we're answering 1, 2, 3, 4. So the probability that a student plays both video games and watches movies is going to be the number of students who do both, 5, out of the total number of students, which is 26 students. Okay, this is the probability that a student plays video games or watches movies or does both. So we need to add up all of the students inside these circles. So that would be 11 plus 8, 19 students out of 26. The probability that a student plays video games given that they watch movies. So the given part means that we're only considering the students that watch movies, and there are 13 of them. Out of those 13 students, how many play video games? That's going to be 5. What's the probability that a student watches movies given that they play video games? So we know that they play video games, so we're only considering those 11 students there. And out of those 11, how many are also watching movies? So there are 5 students who are also watching movies. So when you do your project, you will need to do some simple probabilities, like the probability that a student plays video games, some compound probabilities using the and or the or, and then some conditional probabilities, which uses the given here. All right, so your final project is about movies. You have been hired as an analyst for a movie company. You will pick your favorite movie to analyze and compare against similar movies, as well as provide recommendations for viewers. It will be an individual project, and you will turn it in through Google Classroom. So right now, you should pause the video and go into Google Classroom and find the sign-up sheet for the movie that you would like to sign up for. Okay, if the movie you wanted to sign up for has already been chosen, you'll have to choose your second favorite movie, but make sure you've signed up for your movie in Google Classroom. Each week, we're going to be reviewing a topic from the year, and then you'll complete the slides that go along with that topic for your final project. This week, we're going to jump ahead to slide 7 because 7 has to do with probability, which is what we've been studying. There is a blank template of this slide in Google Classroom. So in Google Classroom, you will locate your template for your slide, and we're going to be using that with the top 50 movies of all time. I also want to show you, before we start looking at the top 50 movies of all time, I want to show you the project overview. This is also located in Google Classroom. But you can see the core content is a review of most of the year. The project overview, these are the slides that you're going to be responsible for. Today we're going to be doing slide 7, and slide 7 has to do with the top 50 movies of all time. We're going to identify 2 events and make a Venn diagram, identify these probabilities. You will also see that there's a checklist for the final project, and we will be posting a rubric for the final project as well. Okay, so actually I think I'm going to go back a slide for just a minute because I want to show you this list of the top 50 movies of all time. Okay, so here's the list, and you can see on the first page it has a lot of information about the movie that you could use so you wouldn't have to look them up in other places. So looking at the list, you could talk about the star rating. The star rating goes up to 10, so you could talk about star ratings that are above 9 or star ratings that are above 8. You could talk about this Metascore here, and you could have a Metascore range as one of your events. You could talk about the lead, if the lead character is a man, if the lead character is a woman, if the lead character is an animal. You could talk about movies that star a certain person, or you could talk about the money that the movie grossed, or even how much it costs to rent it on Prime Video. Other things you can be implied from the picture here. So you could talk about whether or not it was a drama movie or an action movie or an animated movie. So these are all events that you could use for your Venn diagram. You only need 2 events, but you don't want to have the same events as somebody else. So you want to make sure that you're thinking of something new. So here are some of the events we just talked about. And of course you can look up some other events too. You just don't want to make it too much work so that you would have to do too much research, because there are 50 movies that we're considering. So the examples we talked about were whether the lead is an animal, a man, a woman, the number of stars the movie gets, the metascore the movie gets, whether or not the movie is a drama or an action movie, or if it's animated. There were some other numbers on there as well, like how much money the movie grossed. So also, if you have your own ideas, please use those too. You need to choose 2 events, and then you're going to record how many are each event from the list of 50. Okay, so your deadline for your slide is Friday. You should start slide 7 now. If you go into Google Classroom, your teacher should have posted a blank slide for you, and you're going to work on that one. You're going to identify your 2 events, and from those 2 events, you're going to fill in the Venn diagram and then figure out the probabilities. You'll need to do basic probabilities, conditional probabilities, and compound probabilities. There also will be office hours, and you can email your teacher some questions, or you can attend their office hours. After you finish slide 7, you may be interested in looking at the Ed puzzle, which is a preview of next week.